handle the truth.
I'll be back.
It's alive!
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Hi, this is Joe, and this is the Film Joe podcast, where film talk happens.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hi, and welcome to the Film Joe podcast, where we talk about film with filmmakers, trends, the good, the bad, and the not so bad, all in the spirit and for the love of film. I'm Joe, your host, and I'm here with my co-host, Carlos.
Carlos here. Welcome back.
Welcome back. We've been away a little bit, but we're back.
Correct. Better than ever. The best. The bestest.
Bigger, longer, improved.
Yeah. What are we talking about here?
Oh, the pod.
The pod, of course.
So, this week, we're going to discuss a trio of films that contain some pretty gnarly special effects and genius special effects at that. I'm sure you'd agree. And this is all pre-CGI computer-generated garbage we get in film now. But before we continue, just a little reminder, we're not professional critics here. Far from.
I took 10 courses in college for criticology.
Criticology.
Yeah, critical...
Ology. But overall, we're just a couple of film fans who love to talk about film. So on this episode, since we're talking about gnarly special effects and visuals, we're going to give on our rating scale of 1 to 10. It's going to be on a scale of 1 to 10, exploding heads.
Okay, not bad. I can get behind it.
Yes. So keep in mind, there will be spoilers in most of these, some of these films that we talk about.
Correct.
So if you're offended by spoilers, oh well.
Besides, these movies are kind of old. They've been out there for a while. If you haven't seen these, shame on you.
Yeah, basically. So, but before we continue, it's time for... News bits. All right, here's one that I'm sure you're going to be interested in.
Oh.
Hocus Pocus 3 is in development. I guess they're just waiting for the strike to end before they can commence.
Yeah.
That's
still going on?
Yeah, it's still going.
Jesus.
The writers and the actors are still on strike, which leads me to this. You know that the troubled film Snow White from Disney with Rachel Zegler.
Yeah.
They just delayed it another year because of the strikes.
Of course.
They can go summer because hopefully this thing the strike will end by the summertime, way before. Yeah, no, they're doing reshoots, and they just recently released a photo of Snow White surrounded by 7 CGI dwarfs. And have you seen the picture of the original dwarfs that they're going to use for the movie?
Yep.
I'm not even going to go into that shit. That's just ridiculous. Yeah. And I mean, you know, they got female dwarfs and so forth. Oh yeah, we want to be inclusive, but
sure.
Look, miners back in the 1700s or whatever, they were men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not being sexist. That's just reality.
Fact.
But we want to be inclusive.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, but before I get in trouble, I'm just going to avoid on that subject because I can get pretty gnarly with my opinion. Josh Hartnett, who after making a comeback in films like Oppenheimer, Operation Fortune, the Guy Ritchie film. Mm-hmm. So Josh Hartnett is kind of been around, you know, but then he kind of faded away. And
he's back.
Now he's back. Well, he's got a new film coming up that is slated for production again once the strike is over. M. Night Shyamalan is got a film called Good Grade. That's the working title, I guess.
Okay.
And it's a psychological thriller set at a concert.
Okay.
Sounds interesting.
I mean,
I
still have yet to see the other M. Night Shyamalan movie where they are stuck on the beach and then they start aging really weird.
Was that? Yeah, that was Shyamalan.
That was a Shyamalan.
I saw that.
I was interested in it until I saw directed by M. Night Shyamalan. And I was like, it's going to get weird.
Yeah, he's got a stigma attached to his name at this juncture. I mean, he's either really good or he's really bad. But I think he's really bad when he tries to duplicate that whole let's give a twist.
Yeah.
Or let's be witty or
weird.
Just do his thing. And the one with the beach thing, that was pretty interesting.
It was a good concept.
Yeah.
I never saw it though.
So, we'll just see what happens. If he does this thing without a twist and just goes sort of straight up,
just straightforward,
suspense thriller or something, who knows? It might be interesting. So, what have you been checking out lately?
The only thing I've seen in the theaters is the new Saw movie, the Saw X. I think it's on number 10.
Saw 10, yeah.
Yeah, Saw X. Yeah,
I think
it was pretty.
I think it's Saw 10.
I know it's 10. I know numerals, but it's Saw X.
No, Saw 10.
X.
I'm just busting your balls here.
I know. But I saw it and it was actually pretty decent. I mean, I've always been a fan of like the Saw movie, especially the first one.
Oh, the first one was great. I love the first one.
Yeah, great, man. The whole premise of I remember hearing this. The whole premise of the movie and how I got picked up was because it was shot in just one room. Because as the student film, I think it was his name is on the tip of my tongue. It's the
director.
The director.
Him. Him.
But him,
Right.
He did all of it in one room because that's all they could afford. And then it got seen and viewed by bigger studios, and they were like, "Yeah, let's expand on that."
Studios dig that shit.
James Wan.
They dig that shit when it's like a single location. I mean, it's easy on the budget.
It is. Yeah. It is. And I mean, all of the Saws have been pretty good, and I like the Saw X.
There you go.
Yeah.
Saw 10. I mean, I saw the first one and I loved it. I thought it was really, although it was really gruesome.
I liked it.
And I found it disturbing. I mean,
to a certain degree, I like it because I know it's like, oh, okay, well, this is just, cameras and visuals and shit.
Yeah, but that's more close to reality than a zombie.
Yeah, man. But I mean,
I
don't know. Kind of sometimes torture porn is kind of what.
Yeah, I was done after Hostel. And Hostel was also very good. That was enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I get the gist. The genre's interesting.
Let's leave it alone.
I talk about horror. I got to see The Nun 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God. I mean, you know what? It was a bit more interesting than the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But they tried too hard to scare you by jump scares.
Yeah, I don't get behind jump scares.
Man. Yeah. It was pretty dull. I didn't care much for it. The Equalizer 3.
Mm-hmm.
Denzel the Man Washington.
Denzel.
Wow. I mean, you can see his age at this point.
Yeah.
He's aging, but he's still a badass. And it's a really, really good addition to the franchise. So highly recommend it. Brutal as hell.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? On Equalizer 2 where he works in a hardware store?
I think that was the first one.
Was it the first one?
Yeah.
It was one of them, right?
Mm.
He picks up a hammer from the rack and then you cut to a scene later on in the movie. He's using that fucking same hammer.
Oh, it's brutal.
He cleans it off, puts it back on the rack.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best way to get rid of evidence right there, man. You cracking the Da Vinci Code.
Well, there was talk about doing a crossover. Well, I think it was more discussion between actors or directors or interview or something that there would be a crossover with John Wick. God save the bad guys because they had no choice, no chance against those two guys. Also, I did a double feature of Jurassic Park and the last Jurassic World film, Dominion. Interesting because the last one, Dominion, has the original legacy cast.
Yeah.
Sam Neill, who else? I forgot her name. Jeff Goldblum. And so I thought it would be interesting to bookend.
Is it Goldblum or Goldblum?
Depends what part of the country you're in.
Fair.
I've heard it both ways.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be interesting to watch back to back. And wow, you see how lackluster and dull the series has become.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park, the original, was it 92 or 93?
Yeah.
Is still a phenomenal, beautiful film. Gives me goosebumps. Some of the scenes, when they first encounter the Brachiosaurus or the T-Rex, it's just amazing. And yeah, you can see the degradation of the whole, franchise by the last one. So,
yeah.
But I did it just to see,
It's nice to compare and contrast how the first Jurassic Park compares to the last of the Jurassic Parks.
Right. I mean, you see the progress or the lack thereof.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've squeezed out enough from that franchise. But watch, they'll come out with another one.
Oh, they will.
Yeah, beyond Jurassic Park World
Just kind of like how they keep on adding to the title of Planet of the Apes. Dawn of the Rise of the War of the Eclipse of the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
Dude, those titles are insane, man.
Well, those titles are reminiscent. Oh, by the way, everybody, if you hear, that's my gin and cranberry juice.
And if you hear this, it's my ice water.
You're going clean.
Straight from Fiji.
From Fiji. You get that FedEx package from Fiji. Oh, my water's here.
Thank God I was dehydrated.
What was I talking about?
Fiji water.
Not Fiji water. Anyway, what? I forgot my chain of thought. Fiji water. So what do you say? What do you say we just slice into this episode? Worked it in there. All right. So the first film we're going to talk about is a 50s classic era remake.
Mm.
And basically makes you rethink how to eat a donut.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
A brilliant but eccentric scientist begins to transform into a giant man-fly hybrid after one of his experiments goes terribly wrong. The film we're talking about is The Fly from 1986, and it's directed by David Cronenberg with special effects by Chris Wallace, who is responsible for films like Gremlins, Enemy Mine, and Raiders of the Lost Ark, the face melting sequence.
Yeah.
That was him as well. And a film called Dragon Slayer. If you ever get a chance, check that out. That was one of ILM's earlier films that they worked on with FX. And the film stars Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. So basically, as we said, the plot is you got this guy who is he's developing a transporter device to transport matter from one area to the next with little pods.
Mm-hmm.
Goes through the whole process. He's close. He does monkeys. Oh, well, baboons.
Yeah.
And
they...
Yeah, some of the experiments go terribly wrong where you transport the poor bastard baboon and it's like his insides are out in the other pod.
Yeah.
But finally he perfects it and he decides, let me do it myself. And of course there is a fly in the pod and you get that genetic mutation.
Yeah.
Damn good movie. Once I got to see the original and this one back to back. And the original is pretty damn good. But this one's I love it because it was same but different and had a more Shakespearean tragedy element to it.
Yeah.
And you know, I enjoyed it. What was your take on this?
God, what candy was I munching on while watching this movie?
Oh, you were eating while watching this?
I was a little hungry, man. It was like 8 at night. I had just gone back from school. And I was like, let's munch on something. I remember it was something slightly, it must have been cereal. Something cereally. Because I remember a liquid involved, and that's the only thing I think that I could munch on. And I remember having my bowl of cereal. I think it was CT Crunch, man. And they get to the scene where he's like morphing into the creature thing.
Is that the donut scene?
And the fucking donuts, man. He goes, want some? Dude, because I had like a mouthful of CT Crunch with milk in my mouth, and I went,
yeah.
Dude, I tasted it. I don't know what it smelled like with that goo,
but
I tasted
I'm
it.
sure your brain told you what it smelled like. Oh no! Well, that happened to me when I was watching Terrifier. What was I eating? And this movie, if you haven't seen it, it's horrifically graphic.
I think Saw is torture porn. This is like
just nasty.
God.
I mean, you see in Terrifier, you see flesh tearing, cutting, blood everywhere. And what was I eating? Salami, cold cuts, ham, cheese.
So sorry.
Yeah, I put that shit away right. You know,
no.
I put it away real quick.
Some people have the stomach for that. I really don't understand how.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah,
but I just can't eat.
No. That's connecting the two visuals, and I don't want to do that.
Now, what'd you think of Jeff Goldblum as Seth Brundle, the scientist?
He's fucking okay. the scenes where he's like shirtless. Listen, man, I'm,
He's
you
one
know,
sexy motherfucker.
he's
He is.
a damn good motherfucker.
I mean, but you know what's funny? He said he knows it.
Yeah, he's a cocky little shit.
Yeah.
but a fun cocky little
Right.
shit.
He's like, look at me. I mean, look at Jurassic Park.
This-
There's a scene where he has his leg broken, right? And they
Yeah.
have him sitting up on the table while they discuss what the fuck they're gonna do, and he's lying there like he's in a seductive. This is
Get the T-Rex
a
on him.
perfume commercial, you know, with his shirt wide open, and he's just sitting there with his glistening chest hairs. It's like, oh come on, oh
Yeah.
jeez. But the guy's an amazing actor.
Yeah.
He brings. What I loved about his performance here is that the scientist that he plays, he's an eccentric, and he's edgy, and he's energetic, and he's passionate, and he's and he pulls it off beautifully. I don't think anybody else could have played it the way he did.
No.
I mean, he was just perfect. And of course, you got the ever beautiful Gina Davis. She adds the sympathy element to it. You know, the soft part of the romance of the film. And that's where because within the plot of the film, they fall in love, and he turns into a fly, and that fucks everything up.
Kind of hard to be in a relationship where your boyfriend / partner is turning into
a fucking fly.
Yeah, man fly creature.
Yeah, it's like, ooh, me on top or on the bottom. No, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the special effects, because we're focusing on effects.
Yeah.
Now, you've grown up predominantly up to a lot of CG.
Yeah.
Where does this compare to CG?
Nowhere close, man. Nowhere fucking close. Because here's the thing. Well, like CGI, you can tell, like, they don't have that sort of, like, for lack of better words, depth.
Right.
You know, that you get with, physical and live props.
It looks kind of plasticky sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know CGI.
Yeah. Like, you can tell it right away. You're almost like, in fact, that's it right there.
But with this,
you can see the slime and the goo. Like, okay, let me hit you with this. Your mind will automatically tell itself what it would feel like if your tongue were to touch something. Look around the room real quick.
Your tongue.
Hear me out. You see the microphone in front of you?
Yeah.
Visualize your tongue scraping it.
Okay.
You know what it feels like, right?
Okay.
You get what I'm putting down?
Yeah, that's really disturbing if you think about it.
It is. Look at the wall. You know what it would feel like if your tongue went through it.
Right. Well, through it?
What? Oof.
What kind of tongue do you have?
It's a strong. I do my tongue curls.
But I get you. That's true.
Like, you know what is true, and you know what it's not there. And I feel like having that actual
physical,
grotesque, fucking slimy man fly, especially towards the fucking end.
Oh, the money shot. We see him full fly.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And that's the difference between CGI. I mean, look, you got CGI nowadays, you go, that's good CGI, and that's bad CGI. But
the Flash, bad CGI.
Bad CGI. King Kong versus Godzilla, good CGI. But then you look at this and go, not even in the same fucking category. Because like you say, you can feel it, you can touch it, you can smell it. Well, like you said, the thing with the when he pukes onto his donut, you can visualize or mentally smell it or even taste it.
Yeah.
And
like in your mouth, you're just kind of realizing, what the fuck would that goo feel like in your mouth?
Oh, God.
Imagine, yeah, you know?
You know what? And I think that's, it's almost a 4D experience.
Yeah.
And that's what was so great about these effects back then. And I mean, look at, like I said, Chris Wallace who worked on this. He also did Gremlins and Dragon Slayer, which was amazing. They use, if you haven't seen Dragon Slayer, it's about a dragon, obviously, but they use the process called go motion instead of stop motion.
Okay.
To show it in motion. And it is a form of stop motion, but it's all computerized.
Okay.
And it seamlessly puts all the frames together, so you get a fluid movement. But a lot of the design and the dragon itself, like opening its mouth and spewing out fire, was all practical. And you know, fuck Game of Thrones. That looked amazing. If you ever get a chance, go on YouTube and look up some of the shots of the dragon.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you can smell it. You can feel it.
You can feel the little scales.
You can taste it.
You can.
and then you got another aspect, the other special effect that was really, I mean, this movie is chock full of, I mean, when he throws up on the guy's hand, you know, who's trying to save Gina Davis. And his fucking hand melts
Yeah.
to a nub. You can't beat that shit with a stick. I mean, it's amazing. But of course, there's my favorite, which is not as graphic, but it is the arm wrestling sequence.
Yeah, kind of like
Yeah, and basically because Brundle, he gets superhuman strength. So he's all jumping around. Says, I'm going to arm wrestle this giant biker or whatever the fuck it was. And he breaks his arm, compound fracture like with the bone popping out of his arm.
yeah.
Pretty gross, but amazing. I mean, it's almost seamless, bottom line. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. It's incredible. Now, it's based on, I think it was 1956, 55 movie called The Fly, which starred Vincent Price. And he went to the premiere, which is really nice.
That's cool, man. Yeah. That's cool.
And they asked him, I don't know who asked him. It was probably the director, but it was he composed a letter actually after the screening, and he said, and he goes on to talk about the film, and he had eloquent, nice things to say about the film, and he basically said it was wonderful, right up until the end when they went too far. I mean, this guy's old school 1950s. I mean, that shit that he saw was like, oh no, I got to go to church.
Yeah,
this is bad.
I feel unholy and in the
Very
shower.
unholy, yeah. And it is, to tell you the level of effects, when they had a screening at the studio, Chris Wallace was sitting next to the producer, and the film was done, and people were cheering and stuff. And the producer basically turned to Chris Wallace and said, "You're getting an Oscar." And guess what?
He got an Oscar.
He got an Oscar for it, and it was amazing. I mean, that year itself was amazing because 20th Century Fox released this.
Sure.
Guess what came out the same summer from 20th Century Fox?
20th Century Aliens.
Yeah. Same summer. And
That's fucking grody, though.
Oh, man.
Alien or Aliens?
Aliens.
Ooh.
The Cameron sequel. Yeah. And that was freaking amazing. I remember that summer because I went, same weekend, I went to go see The Fly, then I went to go see Aliens.
See, that's a good fucking weekend. You don't get weekends like that.
No,
anymore,
no.
Not even close. I think the closest thing was Barbenheimer.
Barbenheimer was the closest, and that's almost like El Nino. It's
a rare occurrence.
Meteorological event. It's rare. But it was incredible seeing those. I mean, back then you had weekends chock full of good shit.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
And, but things have changed. So now we talked about the fly vomit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it was made of, right?
Probably something gross.
Honey, eggs, and milk. It doesn't. You know what? Throw that in a Ninja blender, and I'm sure it's pretty good. No. Also, you know, interesting little side bit. Who produced the film?
Jeff Goldblum?
Mel Brooks.
What? How?
Exactly.
How?
Now, Mel Brooks, he had an eye for stuff outside of comedy, and of course, he wanted to do the Fly remake. So he insisted, because every Mel Brooks film is a Mel Brooks film or whatever. He purposely kept that out of all the promotion. It just said, when you look at it again, the production company, Brooks film. But he purposely kept that out because, the whole Mel Brooks film, because he wanted all these, come on, especially back in the 80s. Mel Brooks presents The Fly. And you're expecting
comedy.
Right. So he kept that out. But Mel Brooks was very instrumental in getting the look and the right director for the film. But in a true Mel Brooks kind of mentality, he was just something else. The director, which is David Cronenberg, strange fucking director, did a film called Videodrome, Eraserhead, and a couple other Dead Ringers back in the 90s. Strange director. Yeah. Very artistic and very good with storytelling. And so it was brought to their attention, hey, why don't we get David Cronenberg to direct this? And Mel Brooks was all on it. So they brought him in, and Mel Brooks and them sitting down, okay, what's your directing fee? And Cronenberg says, and this, keep in mind, this is 86. So he says, $750,000. And Mel Brooks jumps up and says, no, we'll offer you $1 million. Oh, will you take the job? And then Cronenberg sitting there like, okay, I'll take it. I mean, because Brooks really wanted him to be happy and take the job with Ernest.
Mhm.
And he did. I mean, he did a hell of a job. You do know that Cronenberg, he was approached to direct Return of the Jedi.
Oh.
Yeah, it would have been a very
weird.
very different film. And now, again, harkening back to the special effects, most of the special effects, like the makeup work and puppets used for the film, there's this guy named Bob Burns, and he has his own archive of movie props and like from horror movies and stuff in his basement. And I guess he gives private tours. He has most of that stuff from The Fly in his basement. In the museum.
Lucky bastard.
Yeah.
Imagine just going to your basement to get like, shit from your second fridge, and you go and you see the fucking grotesque
and there's a fly staring at you.
6-foot man fly.
Yeah, you know what? I'll skip on the ding dongs and milk. I'm done. Yeah. Now
I'd lose appetite.
Yeah. So let's go into the numbers, the box office and the budget. The budget at the time was about $15 million. Okay, so in today's dollars, that's about 42 million.
Okay.
Now, 42 million is still pretty low for a film like that.
Yeah.
Could it be
90% of it went to effects, though.
Right. Oh, absolutely. But why is it this film made today would probably cost what, 150 million?
Easy.
Why? Because they're using CGI.
Yeah.
And computers cost money, hardware, software, all this bullshit. So maybe practical effects was cheaper. Takes a little longer,
but worth it.
So so $15 million, which is about $42 million today. Box office at the time was about $60 million, which is about $170 million today.
Mm.
And not to count video rental, DVD, showing,
replica vomit,
all the stuff and so forth. Yeah, it did very well. It was a great summer for 20th Century Fox.
Oh, they were swimming in money, man.
Oh, they were, and they were happy. They did really, really well. Now, reviews and scores, we have the Chicago Tribune, and basically they call this film, it was the LA Times and the Tribune, they call this film a stunning piece of filmmaking that allowed the audience to identify with its monstrous creation, which I agree with. You actually feel sympathy.
Very well put, yeah.
Yeah, you look at this guy and, he's disgusting. But you feel for him, and hence the tragedy.
Yeah.
And it brought it across beautifully. So it was a human-based or emotionally based storyline that really brought this film out the way it did. Yeah. Gene Siskel of Siskel and Ebert of the Chicago Tribune, he listed The Fly as the 10th best film of 1986.
Ooh.
Now you go, why so low?
10.
Yeah,
well,
but look at how many fucking movies came out that year.
Yeah.
So out of like 50 movies, 10th is pretty damn good. So it did really well critically and box office wise, which is always a win-win for a studio.
Yeah.
IMDb rating is sitting at a 7.6. Metacritic, 79%. And Rotten Tomatoes critic score, 93%, with an audience score of 83. And Letterboxd has it at a 4.0 out of 5. So good numbers all around. Very well loved film. And what's great about it, again, it endures. It's still.
I mean, that was way before my era.
You weren't even.
I wasn't even. Yeah, no, even close. But damn, that movie's good. You look at the effects. Solid. Yeah, there it goes. Hello.
Yeah, spot on effects. Great storytelling.
Yeah.
It had the whole 9 yards. The cast, the crew, and you just can't get in. And that's one thing I think that, for as much garbage as there was in the 80s, which was fun garbage.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff like this that had artistic quality to it. Mm-hmm. And what you call cinema. You can just call this a monster film, but it's also cinema.
Because it has a good story to it, and it has a good cast to it. It has a good effects to it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, another aspect that I just remembered that inspired the look and the feel and the whole thematic element of the film was Cronenberg is a fan of Franz Kafka.
Franz
Kafka, with the giant roach that talks and all that stuff. So he was inspired by Kafka in the portrayal of the Brundlefly. So yeah, now sequels and remakes. There were no remakes. This is in itself a remake.
True.
But there was a sequel in 1989 called The Fly Part 2, with Eric Stoltz.
Mm-hmm.
It sucked. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but you know what?
Okay, here's the whole thing. How far can you go with The Fly 2?
Well, you know,
he dies at the... Sorry.
He dies at the
Homeboy
end.
dies at the end.
Oh, which, by the way, let me get back to that. I forgot about that ending. She because he melts off the dude's hand when he's half already a fly, and she has the shotgun in her hand, Gina Davis, and she points it at him, and she can still see some part of Seth Brundle in the eyes.
Yeah.
And she drops the rifle a little bit. And what does he do?
He points it back up and says, Kill me.
Oh my God. That was heartbreaking.
That was.
I mean,
because that was really think about it, dude. You went from loving this man, scientist, for however long, I think it was probably, a couple months or anything, however long he took to finish his experiment, to from one day to the next, him being a completely different person.
A monster.
From the next week, him being a fly creature.
Yeah.
That's
it's heartbreaking.
That's tough, man.
Yeah. So what is your rating on this?
Oof, man, let me tell you, it was a horrible choice to eat CT Crunch while watching this movie, because god damn, the effects are so real.
At least you weren't eating honey, eggs, and
milk.
And milk.
Oh my god, what a concoction, man. The great Jeff Goldblum pulls off The Fly like nobody else could. His charisma at the beginning, being the scientist, kind of more secluded, more isolated, then introverted, and then realizing that he's on greatness, and then falling from heights because he was Icarus as he flew too close to the sun.
True.
Poetic. I know.
I like that.
I've been paying attention to history. What can I
there
say?
you go. But yeah.
But, it has a very deep and compelling story. It's like, and it kind of, if you really think about it, just because we can do something in science, does that mean we should do something?
Right.
So overall, I mean, I give this movie, a solid 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. What was it?
Exploding heads.
Exploding heads.
All right.
There you go.
Very solid. I agree. That's a respectable rating. Yeah. I mean, to me, it was gory. It was beautifully shot. I mean, you sympathize with a monster. That's some great storytelling. Effects are some of the best practical effects, in my opinion, in the history of film.
Mm-hmm.
Just mind-blowing. And Goldblum dazzles. He is Brundle.
Yeah.
I mean, with his eccentric being. And you also have like I said earlier, the Shakespearean dramatic irony, they call it. You see his rise, but you know where he's going to go from there.
Yeah.
But it's fun because with really well-structured dramatic ironies like this, you're still hoping that he can survive.
You're really hoping the DNA splicer at the end is going to split him back into two.
Yeah, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful mix of emotions that you're hit with. So for me, I'll give this an 8.5 out of 10 exploding heads.
Yeah.
Very, very
solid.
good film. Very good film. And a film I can watch over and over and
I don't
over.
know if I can watch it over and over again. At some point, I'm going to want to eat, but it's a solid film that I'll rewatch on the other
I'll watch this again over any of the Saw movies. Not that the Saw movies are bad, but yeah.
Okay.
So next up, we're going to take a trip to the Arctic, and we have an uninvited guest that causes all sorts of gory trouble.
12 men have just discovered something. For 100,000 years, it was buried in the snow and ice. Now it has found a place to live. Inside. Where no one can see it, or hear it, or feel it.
I know I'm human. Some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
You guys gonna listen to Gary? He can beat one of those things!
A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. The film is The Thing, from 1982, directed by John Carpenter, with special effects by Rob Bottin. For many years, I was a Rob Bottin, a Rob Bottin, but it's Bottin.
Bottin.
It sounds fancy.
Bottini Linguini.
Yeah, and he's responsible for films like RoboCop, The Howling, Maniac, and The Fog. This guy was top notch. He was a rock star in FX back in the 80s. And the film stars Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley, and Keith David. What else can you say? I mean, first of all, let's just say Kurt Russell. Fuck it. Great movie.
Great movie.
End of review.
And
I mean, I'll watch anything with Kurt Russell.
yeah.
So what were your takes on this?
I mean, this is a movie that when you told me, oh yeah, we're doing this for the podcast, I was like, oh, I don't even need to watch it. I've seen this movie so many times that I can just tell you how it goes from start to beginning to end. Wait. From start to middle to end.
Yeah.
Starting and beginning of this.
Yeah, let's get the chronology
correct.
right. Okay.
I mean, I've seen this movie, every Halloween for the past, God, what is it, like, since you showed it to me?
Yeah.
God, I was a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
Fuck, that was a minute ago. Yeah, so what, 7, 14?
Yeah.
I'm old years ago.
Yeah.
That's how many.
Exactly. No, it's just, I love the creepiness, the suspense, the whole element of not trusting each other in a closed environment.
Like, are you the creature alien thing?
It's like, no,
open your fucking mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Paranoia.
Yeah, it's cabin fever.
Well, the film it's a remake of a 1950s film also that was called The Thing from Another World. One of the elements involved with that, I mean, it was distrust. We don't know. Are you the alien? Mm-hmm. Are you the alien? But what was going on in the 50s in our country?
The Red Scare?
Yeah, Red Scare. Are you the alien or are you the alien? Because you're going to destroy us from within.
Are you the commie?
Yeah. And that was the whole thing, is that it would destroy you from within.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a deep message.
Yeah, it's a trip. I mean, there was a lot of films in the 50s that played on that that Red Scare communism thing. You also have the Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is about pods or these aliens that come down. They turn, they have these pods and they kill you and they replicate you. And now you're the alien, walk around and you go, oh, that's Bob. Same thing. It was the Red Scare. They're transforming us little by little with, by doing so. It was a trip. So it kind of plays in here the same way in the remake, but I think it's more just straight horror. I mean, John Carpenter has always been into social political commentary in a lot of his films. Well, what I love about Carpenter is that he's very subtle with it.
Yeah.
He's not hitting
not in your face.
Not in your face. He's like, oh, look, propaganda. It's just, it's very subtle. Even the fog and all Halloween, there was some elements in there that were, Escape from New York, the same thing. It has elements like that. But yeah, it's definitely, in fact, the source material goes further back to like 1938, and it was a John Campbell novel. And it was called Who Goes There? And then it was turned into the 50s. Now, this is going to go right over your head, but The Thing in the 1950s film was played by an actor named James Arnaz.
James.
Yeah. Now, those of you my age or older would know that name. He was Sheriff Marshal Dillon in a show called Gunsmoke. And he was a hit show in the 50s, Western. It was a big show. And that was right before he became famous. And he was the Thing. He's the original Thing. And it was basically just him in a giant suit walking around. And it was very strange, but nonetheless, very effective. Mm-hmm. Now, John Carpenter has said, and it's interesting because we'll get into some of this later, the film was not very well received. And it did not do well box office wise.
Damn.
You would think, right?
I would have thought.
I mean, fucking John Carpenter is still doing interviews to this day. And they ask him about The Thing, and he talks about The Thing, and hardcore cinephiles and horror fans talk about The Thing, but yet it had a piss poor reception. Mm-hmm. Nonetheless, it's Carpenter considers it one of his favorite films that he's worked on.
I mean, I would too.
Yeah.
If I looked at my what would it be? Like my arsenal of movies that I made, fucking The Thing, man.
The Thing. It has to be, and to say, Carpenter has made some pretty amazing films.
Yeah.
Halloween, The Fog. He's got some good stuff in there, but I think Escape from New York, but The Thing, I think, just stands out.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because if you're a John Carpenter fan, you know that he produces, directs it. He produces, directs, writes, and does the music score. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the only films he didn't do his own score. Oh. It was Ennio Morricone, who is famous for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and all the spaghetti westerns.
Got it. Okay.
And he did the score. And so, but this was the only film he didn't do the score on. And, you know, again, we're going to go back to the special effects. You know, this film is, I mean, again, considering this movie did shit at the box office, it really was not received well. And it's considered to this day, it's a benchmark film in special makeup effects.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at the fucking things in that thing, man.
Yeah. I mean what was great about it, I
creatures.
think, what I think is great about the special effects or Rob Bottin who worked on this is he didn't have, like you have Alien.
Mm-hmm.
What does the alien look like? Well, it has a long bulbous head.
And a little mini mouth that shoots out.
What does the Predator look like? What does the Terminator look like? Well, you know, you have specific, you know, idea. Here it's like, what does the thing look like?
Depends.
It depends. So that opens the door wide open of the imagination to just, you know, I'm just going to do some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, look at the spider head. Yeah, that was one of my favorite special effects. And to think, Robert Teen was only 22 years old.
Oh, fuck.
When he did this.
Youngster.
He was just a kid. And, you know.
No wonder they came out so fucking twisted, man.
Well, you know.
I mean, you look at the mind of any dude that age being told, create creatures, and he's a makeup effects artist. Yeah, you're going to get some weird oddities, man.
And he was impassioned about it. He practically lived at the FX studio while working on this. He would barely sleep. He actually got really ill and said he had to take him to the hospital from exhaustion.
Jesus.
I mean, and at that, he had a crew working for him. But he was one of those special effects men, like Tom Savini and Chris Wallace and all, you know, Greg Nicotero. They're masters at this art. So yeah, he oversaw everything. And a little side story about Rob Bottin. One of his early works was a film called The Howling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it came out the same year as An American Werewolf in London.
Talk about competition.
Yes. Now, I'm in the minority I love An American Werewolf. It was amazing. But I like The Howling a little better because it's more of a B flick. If you ever get a chance, check it out. It's more of a B flick, but it has some great werewolf transformation effects. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of people out there going, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. It's about American Werewolf. Good stuff. But to me, The Howling takes my heart.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully not literally.
Oh, yeah.
But when he was working on, what happened is that Rob Bottin was working under Rick Baker, who did the special effects for An American Werewolf in London. Mm-hmm. He was working with John Landis on that film. They ran out of money. So Rick Baker, you know, worked elsewhere.
Yeah.
So he ended up working on this low budget film called The Howling, also about werewolves. Now, keep in mind, he had been developing all kinds of cool shit for An American Werewolf.
Yeah.
So the money runs out. He takes off. He's working with Joe Dante on The Howling. Cool. Everything's good. He's working. And his protege is Rob Bottin. So they're working. Maybe a quarter of the way through, Rick Baker gets a call from John Landis, who was doing American Werewolf. He's like, guess what? Got the money. Let's get rolling. And he's like, Rick Baker's, I'm actually working right now. What are you working on? A film called The Howling. It's a werewolf movie. John Landis lost his shit. Are you kidding me? You're working on another werewolf movie instead of mine? Did you do that effect with well, get the fuck over here to London right now, or you'll never work in this town again.
Oof.
Rick Baker packed up his shit, went to London, and left Rob Bottin in charge. Rick Baker goes back, works on American Werewolf in London, and wins an Academy Award. One of the early effects based Oscars. Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, great stuff. And then, of course, Rob Bottin just went on, continuing doing amazing work on after that. So let's talk about box office and budget. So the film at the time had a budget of about $15 million, which is about $47 million today.
Yeah.
Again, pretty low for an effects-driven film.
And for what you get.
Yeah. So box office was about $20 million. That's about $64 million today.
Eesh.
It barely turned a profit because you go, well, if it makes 20 million, it breaks even. No, you got to make 3 times more.
Yeah.
I believe, right? It's 3 times.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
and it didn't
Because you're
make
not
the
really
math.
thinking about advertising and all the other shit that goes along with it.
Yeah. So box office, it was not received well. I went to the movies to go see it.
Oh, you probably loved it.
I loved every fucking minute of
I
this
would
movie.
too.
I was like, this is the greatest film I've ever seen. You know, it's
Everybody
like,
else is coming out of the movie theater. That fucking sucks.
yeah. Well, it was a bunch of teenagers when I went to go see. We're like,
Yeah.
Is it Casablanca, Citizen Kane? Hell no. It's The Thing. That's the one. But it was great. I loved it. Roger Ebert, he considered the film to be scary and nothing, you know, he enjoyed the special effects. So he thought it was pretty decent.
Yeah.
He actually liked it.
Hey.
Didn't give it a rave review, but said it was pretty decent and pretty creepy. The LA Times said that it was bereft, despairing, and nihilistic.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't think they liked it.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So, but now, and it, you know, so it was what, 82 through now, it's like 40 years almost,
Yeah.
or whatever.
82, 22, 20. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has endured the test of time. You look at the ratings, the audience response initially. Well, the movie is sitting at an 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
That's solid.
Metacritic, still kind of iffy, about 57%.
Okay.
It was a lot lower when the movie came out, I'm sure.
Sure.
Rotten Tomatoes, critics score overall 85% and 92% audience score. Letterboxd has it sitting at a 4.2 out of 5. So this movie has just transcended time and it's become a cult classic. And one of those movies that you go, that is the pinnacle, or just the benchmark that all films had to try to get to when they did their special effects. So your rating.
So, little side commentary. Learning what because I didn't know this movie didn't do that well. I mean, I thought it was a fucking hit.
You would think,
yeah,
right?
I would have thought, who'd have thunk it?
Right? I didn't thunk it.
I didn't thunk it.
Right.
I would call this the John Wick effect, right?
Yeah.
Where the movie comes out and it does, right? But then people start watching it and people start recommending it. And they're like, hey, check this movie out. And then over time, it gets a following.
Exactly. And unfortunately with the thing, it took decades.
Yeah.
For it to get to that point. John Wick had what, a couple years?
But now it's everybody knows.
Yeah,
Whoever's heard of the John Wick movies.
I mean, it just has this trickle effect where you're right, word of mouth, and people say, hey, this movie. There was no internet back then.
Yeah.
So a lot of people were like,
Yeah.
But it, once it hit like home video and cable television and stuff, it did really, really well.
Yeah.
And just spread like wildfire. And definitely one of my favorites. So your rating on it?
Right. Like I said, I've seen this movie every single Halloween, and I don't plan on breaking that tradition. So, I mean, Tuesday night, I don't work. I'm going to be in the fucking living room blasting the thing.
I'm there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, I mean, this movie has a very sentimental part to my heart, so I give it a 9.5.
Wow. That's, you know what? I have to respect that score.
Yeah.
Because it definitely is. Me personally, I found the film, it was creepy, unnerving, great visual effects. Most of the effects still hold up. I'd say about good 90% of them.
Oh, yeah.
But just a beautiful, amazing engineering and makeup achievement.
Yeah.
Just incredible. And so for me, I give this an 8 out of 10 exploding heads.
Hell yeah. Real quick little side story.
Uh-huh.
You know how at the end of the spoilers, you know how at the end of the movie, it's Russell Crowe's character and
Kurt Russell.
What did I say?
Russell Crowe.
Fuck, are you?
Who's drinking? Me or you?
Yeah, no. Okay, Kurt Russell's character. He's in the little shed and caught on fire.
Oh, with
with the other mechanic dude.
Keith David.
That one.
That guy.
And you know how you're thinking, okay, fuck, one of them is an alien, right?
Right.
And Kurt Russell's character takes open the bottle of alcohol and he starts drinking, right? And he hands it to the dude, and the homeboy takes a big swig out of it. Who's the alien?
Because Kurt Russell starts laughing.
Yeah.
Because what were they doing right before? They were throwing Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, so he's drinking straight gasoline, son.
And the theory behind that is he's going to die anyway, so fuck it.
Yeah.
So we're both going to die kind of thing. And but it's never been confirmed, but I've heard that fan theory and it does hold water.
I mean, think about it. They were making Molotovs. That's what he's drinking now. I would say that's absolutely true.
And it fits Kurt Russell's character.
Yeah.
That's what he would do. He'd just laugh his ass off. Hey, you motherfucker.
You're a
I got you.
motherfucker. Yeah.
I got you. So
We both gonna die.
now sequels and remakes. There was a 2011 sci-fi series that they were planning to make. And actually it was 2003. And it was eventually produced in 2011. It was called The Thing. And it served both as a remake and a prequel. And it didn't do well. It was canceled.
Yeah.
But there was a prequel to the film called The Thing.
Again,
Right. And this was in 2011. And it was pretty damn good. Unfortunately, I mean, a lot of people give this movie a lot of shit because it has to stand up to the original 1982 film.
Yeah.
But it had the same tone, the same feel, even the same style of cinematography. It worked as a prequel. The only thing that killed the movie was that it was mostly, if not all, CGI computer generated.
I've seen every other Halloween. I'll be like, hey, let's rewatch the sequel too. And then I'll rewatch it. I'm like,
Yeah, and you go, it's kind of frustrating because you want to like the movie.
Yeah.
But you can't get behind it because the shitty computer effects.
Yeah.
Now, this film, they did do predominantly, most of it was done practical.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to show you to show you how brilliant these studio executives are, these suits who don't know jack shit about film or art, they did a lot of a lot of shots and stuff with the special effects. So they showed these producers, these executives, the dailies,
mm-hmm.
and with these practical special effects, and these guys are so proud of what their work. And the producers or the executive, when they finish watching it, they're like, "Yeah, it looks good, but it looks too 80s. Let's do computers instead." How fucking idiotic is that? And those effects were all, there was some, like, there was a two
the little human spider.
No. There was two people fused together.
Yeah, with the two legs. Yeah. No, yeah.
Yeah, and I saw the actual practical effects on YouTube for that.
Oh, fuck.
It was gorgeous in the most mortifying way. And it was just frustrating to see that they replace it with shitty computer generated effects.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of my perennial favorites. Love that film.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. All right, so let's go into our final film. So it's the end of the world. Death is literally walking the earth, and you're not safe anywhere. So where do you go? The mall, of course.
The people it kills get up and kill. This situation must be controlled before it's too late. They are multiplying too rapidly.
Dawn of the Dead.
Meet me on the roof at 9 o'clock. Get out.
I believe
We're
it.
gonna
What?
get out in the chopper. We've got to survive. Somebody's got to survive.
They kill for one reason. They kill for food. They eat their victims.
During an escalating zombie epidemic, 2 Philadelphia SWAT team members and a traffic reporter and his TV executive girlfriend seek refuge in a secluded shopping mall. The film is Dawn of the Dead from 1978, directed by the one and only George A. Romero, with special effects by Tom the Master Savini, who did films like From Dusk Till Dawn, Day of the Dead, Creepshow 2, Maniac. Incredible. In fact, I think he worked along with Rob Bottin on Maniac.
Hey.
So you see how these guys just always cross paths.
Yeah.
It was a small community of these amazing artists. And the film stars David Ermge and Ken Foree. So I hadn't seen this in years.
Mm-hmm.
And it does seem a lot more slower paced than I remembered.
Okay.
But it was creepy still.
Yeah.
The whole being isolated and these creatures lurking outside. It had definitely a documentary feel to it in a way. You know what I mean? Kind of
okay. Slow pace, but it's still there.
Yeah. But nonetheless, it's still, I mean, when it kicks into gear, it's really, really good. I think it does, surprisingly for a zombie horror flick, it does focus a lot on character development.
Mm-hmm.
The reporter, the pilot, the SWAT guy, even the idiotic security guards. Those fucking guys, man. But it was pretty neat. What was your take on it?
So, okay, when I first started playing the movie and I was in my room and I press play and it jumps right away to the newsroom and everything's gone to shit. I was like, whoa, what
Did
the
you
fuck?
miss something? Yeah.
What the fuck is going on? I paused it and I started to rewind and I had only been like 10 seconds into the movie. And I was like, okay, so this is the beginning, and I know it because it has the intro in the beginning, which I didn't see, right? I was getting all comfy and shit. And I was like, okay, we're just being jumped straight into this entire shit, as you know, somebody would in a zombie apocalypse.
Which I love.
You have no time to fucking prepare. You're in this shit now.
Right. No explanation. Well, it was caused by a monkey with rabies, and it came from South Indonesia. No,
fuck it.
Zombies.
You don't know.
And you're right. That's how it would be in real life. One minute you're having your Cheerios, watching Bugs Bunny cartoons.
The next, your daughter's trying to bite your ankle.
Right, and that's I really did like that approach. With all the footage, the news footage of chaos and mayhem and anarchy, it really sets the mood.
Yeah. For
the film. What really kind of like blew me away that if you think about it, the film is kind of like it's a metaphor for materialism, commercialism. Hence the mall being a source of a safe place.
Yeah.
And it's a false sense of security and a way of escaping reality, which is how it's like, oh my God, we're about to go to war with China and the Soviet Union just invaded Ukraine. Oh, but there's the Kardashians.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we are as a culture, as a society here in this country. And hence the political and socio-political commentary that Romero loved to put in his films as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely got that sense of, the safe place. We're all happy.
Everything's good.
It's the mall.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dairy Queen and Orange Julius and JCPenney. What the fuck else do you want?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was deeper statement-wise than, say, the remake by Zack Snyder with the fast zombies.
Well, the thing with that one is that it didn't really have much, like, commentary to put in.
Right.
Versus this one was just like a more, the Snyder remake, it was more like of a suspense and thriller and,
Which is something that all these three films have in common. It wasn't jump scares. Mm-hmm. It's environment, it's ambiance, it's the tone that freaks you out.
Is it your neighbor? Is it gonna get you? Is it behind the door that you're about to fucking open?
Right. You're safe behind these doors, but it's out there and it's waiting for you. Mm-hmm. It just plays with your mind. It really does. So it's very psychological.
I'll hit you with this. Where, if Dawn of the Dead were to be remade, where would they go hide out this time?
Ooh.
Because I already know where I'm answering.
I don't know. Nowadays, the iPod, Apple store.
Everybody would scurry to the nearest Amazon warehouse.
Wow. That's right, huh? But you have to place the order online first to be able to get there.
Absolutely.
Right.
You got to ship yourself express.
Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, because malls
are closing.
Malls are closing. That's a sad statement of our society that
they were here for a minute and poof, gone.
I mean, we are becoming those zombies.
Oh, absolutely.
You
go down the street, you walk down a busy intersection, what do you see?
People on
their phones, hunched down, neck at a weirdly obtuse angle, man.
Yeah, and then they get hit by a car.
Yeah.
And I applaud that.
Darwinism.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, but I think that's one thing that, I don't know if, I doubt it, if Romero was, forecasting that. But that we are becoming a society of zombies. There's a good movie called Something Bodies, Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies.
And it's an okay zombie film.
I know what you're talking. Yeah.
And it does although it hits you over the head with that commentary.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where the character, he's at a mall that's all abandoned and, after the zombie apocalypse. And he sees these zombies walking around and kind of dissolves into people walking around like, oh, this is how it used to be.
And they look the fucking same.
They fucking look the same, walking around with their phones in their hand,
Man.
Now, interesting. You did mention something about the color of the skin of the zombies, right?
Yeah, I told you about this when you asked me, oh, so what'd you think? And I told you, I don't know about the blue zombie, man. It kind of, I saw it and I was like, eh.
Right. Well, okay. Well, Tom Savini chose a gray color.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the original film from 1968, Night of the Living Dead, it was in black and white. So you didn't really get a color or know what color the skin was. So
Sure.
he chose gray. He later said that was a fucking mistake because it came out looking blue. But I still dug it.
Okay, here's the thing. I feel like a muted gray would have been a lot better.
And I think that's what he was going for.
Because okay, when the normal color of a steak before it's processed is what? Gray. It turns fucking gray, right?
Right, yeah.
They treat it with what is it? Carbon monoxide or carbon?
I think it's carbon monoxide.
Carbon monoxide
to keep it red.
To keep it red and plumpy, right?
Wow, I feel that's
So you eat meat, man. That's for you. So they treat it with carbon monoxide to keep it red, and for you to think, oh, it's fresher. Because if you saw a gray steak, you'd be like, ugh, something's wrong with it.
Right.
So gray would have been a more natural because it's flesh. That's
true.
Just raw.
And I think that's probably why he was intending that color.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind that Tom Savini was supposed to work on Night of the Living Dead for George Romero.
Yeah.
But he was called off. He was drafted to Vietnam.
Oof. Tough time.
Yeah, as a photojournalist for the Army.
Oof.
And he got to see, and he got to see a lot of shit out there that I'm sure was a lot of influence, and he got a lot of knowledge about mangled body parts and stuff, which is kind of
that's fucked up though.
Yeah, I think he went into this type of work or more into it because maybe it was a way for him to deal with.
Yeah, you find a way to cope with what you've seen and what
exactly.
Yeah.
And now, one thing that was kind of interesting was that the MPAA, when it was submitted, they threatened it with an X rating.
Oof.
Because it was it was gory.
Sure.
So they threatened it, and they said they told Romero, "So you cut this sucker down, or you're going to get an X rating." Romero said, "Fuck off," and he kept this X rating.
Oof.
And in X-rated films didn't do well back then because the stigma, the association with X rating was pornography, and so a lot of theater chains wouldn't. But he was able to kind of convince a lot of theater owners to listen. It's a zombie movie. It's not a porno. We're promoted accordingly, and he got a lot of theaters to show it.
Shit.
Yeah. But
you know what? Stick by your guts.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, oh God, what
by
movie?
Your guts. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay.
What movie that was it that you told me that? I think it was Al Pacino movie or something like that, where they knew they were gonna get an X rating, and they specifically filmed a scene that was
extra
over the top and bloody and Casino. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a scene and the scenes in the film where they put a guy's head in one of those vices. And they're closing the vice with his skull in it.
Yeah.
And the scene shows, the scene's in there, but everything's off camera. Well, they actually filmed it, and they had a skull in there where they turned the vice and the eyes popped out.
Eesh.
And so Scorsese knew.
Oh, Scorsese.
Yeah, he knew they were going to prove that shit. Because they go with this 20 fuck words, 20 shit words, and there's this and there's that, there's nudity. They count all this shit up, right? But he knew it's a bullshit game. So he threw that in there, kept everything, and they gave him. Otherwise, yeah, he got his R rating. Now, had he not done that, they would have tried to slap him with an X rating with the cut that came out.
Yeah.
So it was a trip. Yeah. One thing, another little tidbit was kind of interesting was that they filmed in an actual mall. So the zombie actors, I forgot they would film when it was closed, and then they would do the thing. They fix it up and take off and come back. Well, a lot of the zombie actors who were in zombie gear, they would go into those photo booths, and take pictures.
That's kind of cool.
But they would get those pictures, and you know how like outside of the photo booths they have like samples of like, Bob and Susie, smooching. They replaced all of those with the zombie pics, and they left them there for people to see. So they definitely had a sense of humor. I mean, some of the zombies, and this is another great thing, is that you got zombies without arms or legs. So how do we accomplish that in film today? CGI.
Sure.
Computer erase arm, right? Erase leg. Back then they didn't have that. They used actual amputees.
Okay, here's the thing, man.
Well, okay.
I don't get to speak on this because I have all limbs.
Right.
But if, God forbid, tragedy were to strike me and I lose an arm or a leg, I think I would genuinely just try to be in movies with.
I would, give me my Actors Guild card.
Yeah, man. I mean, okay, not to say you're to put in blunt terms, you're making light out of a shit situation, right?
Right, and
I
you give
was
them a
in-
sense of importance.
Yeah, I was in a fucking accident, and now let's say, for example, I don't have a left arm, right, or left leg. That would be a little bit easier to work with on screen.
Right.
That is just gonna be so much. Like, it's gonna open up a lot of different things that you can do.
Absolutely.
You can't CGI my leg behind a wheel.
Right.
If if the wheel needs to be, well, you could.
It's just a lot easier. It's genuine. And again, some people say, well, you're capitalizing on somebody's tragedy. Well, let's think of the person. They lose a part of themselves. They feel inadequate, which they aren't,
No, man.
But they have these feelings. But you got studios say, you know what, you're special. We can use you. You're going to do something. You're going to make a difference in film, and you're going to scare people, or you can. And it
gives importance.
It does. It gives them purpose, and I think that was But again, nowadays you
I remember hearing a story of this dude who lost I think it was half of his face to cancer. It was one of his eyeballs, and then the entire side of that same nostril,
right,
and the top part of the cavity of the mouth, so he could put his finger up through the roof of his mouth and out his eye socket, right?
Yeah,
gnarly stuff.
Yeah,
and he went to go to do zombie movies.
Wow.
I'm not ever going to be remember his name, but you look him up. He's probably somewhere online.
And again,
and he loves it.
Exactly. He's somebody.
Yeah.
And people don't look at him as, oh, look, that monster. No, this guy rocks.
It's a legend.
It's a legend. Yeah, and that's amazing. Now, one thing that I recall when I first saw it when I was a kid, and even now when I recently saw it again, the blood. It's too red.
It looks almost gooey
and fake.
Yeah.
And Savini was not very happy with that blood mix. Because when he photographed it, it looked fluorescent. It looked red. It looked fake. However, Romero, maybe he was just making lemonade out of lemons, but he loved the way it looked because he said, you know what? This is a comic book style of storytelling.
Okay.
And blood would be red on a comic book panel.
Yeah.
So for him, it worked.
Hey, you know what?
But overall, I mean, there's a shit ton of these zombie dead films. And this was the most profitable film in the entire series. Probably because it wasn't the first of its kind. It was first color version because the original was in black and white. The first one. The budget at the time was about $500,000. Okay, which is about $2.3 million today.
Cheap. Damn.
Very cheap. Now, the box office, remember, this is an X-rated film.
Yeah, okay.
Box office at the time was about $50 million, which is about $236 million today.
God damn.
So much for the MPAA, MPAA trying to stick it to the filmmaker.
Jesus Christ.
It did really, really well. I mean, reviews is good. It got some pretty good reviews. Roger Ebert. Now, you know how he feels. He does not like horror films. More specifically, he doesn't like slasher films. He gave this one 4 out of 4 stars. And he proclaimed that this was the best of horror films ever made. He called it gruesome, sickening, disgusting, violent, brutal, and appalling. And he basically follows that with, but nobody ever said that art had to be in good taste. So he loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and again, it has subtext, commentary and horror, acting, it left a lot to be desired. IMDb sitting at a 7.8, Metacritic 71%, Rotten Tomatoes critic score 93% with an audience score of 90. Letterboxd 4.0 out of 5. So suffice to say, this was and still is a very loved and respected zombie film. More so than the original.
Yeah.
I have to say. And I love the original. Even though...
In the original, where did they go to hide out? A mall?
A house.
A house.
It was a house.
Because I was about to say, back in the original time, there was no mall.
No, there was no malls back in 68. There was just giant, like, JCPenney's and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, it was in a house. And, again, the first one also had the element of being secluded. But that one you got to watch it. Check this.
I'm almost positive we've seen it.
Yeah, we have. And it has subtext and a message of racism and xenophobia. which is pretty interesting, especially towards the end. But again, George Romero liked to put in little commentaries and not hit you over the head with it.
Yeah.
Just kind of
subtle.
show. Yeah, it's subtle. What do you think? Whatever. If you miss it, you miss it. Sequels and spin-offs and remakes. So the original, of course, was in 1968, which was Night of the Living Dead. There was a sequel in 1985 to Dawn of the Dead called Day of the Dead.
Okay.
Which is okay. The zombies start to think at this point, which is kind of weird.
Okay.
It's still gruesome as fuck.
Sure.
I mean,
I would imagine.
Savini worked on that one as well as special effects. Then there was a remake in 1990 of Night of the Living Dead, directed by Tom Savini, which we did see. And it was damn good film. Probably because Tom Savini, well, that's his baby. That's his legacy. So he, doing the remake as a director, he landed it. Then there was Land of the Dead, 2005, also directed by Romero. Then there was Night of the Living Dead, 3D, 2006.
That's the greatest one.
Yeah, I think I skipped that one. Diary of the Dead, also George Romero, 2007. Survival of the Dead, 2009, directed by Romero as well. And then finally in 2021, there was a remake of Night of the Living Dead. Now, you know why they can remake Night of the Living Dead over and over and over again?
Public domain?
It's public domain.
How did I know that?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that it just became on its own accord. George Romero basically forgot to renew his copyright on Night of the Living Dead. And he let it go and it became public domain. And it sucks because it's one of the greatest horror films or zombie films ever made.
Yeah.
So what's your rating on this one?
Ratings. Acting is not the greatest of the bunch, right?
Yeah.
It's okay, right? It kind of threw me off when at the very beginning you're in a newsroom and like I said, everything has gone to shit. But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense where you don't have time to fucking prepare. Characters, they were, likable. Some of them.
Yeah,
some
nice
of the
mix,
bunch.
yeah.
Yeah. Because in the apocalypse, you're not going to get to choose, I want Tommy, Brenda, and then Lee, right? You're going to be stuck with whoever the fuck you're stuck with. So that was cool to see. And again, I don't get behind the blue zombies. I have issues with it.
Well, probably because you've been conditioned.
Yeah.
All these years.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, on some of the scenes, you're thinking, I can walk away from these motherfuckers, reload my gun, aim back, bang, 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 walk away some more. They're not that quick, right? And I'm thinking these people who are dying are idiots.
Right.
But it is what it is. Overall, the movie is really good. I genuinely enjoyed it. 8.5.
8.5. Okay. Well, I found the social commentary very interesting that mixed in with gore and suspense. Suspense was very, very well structured. I don't think it had any jump scares.
No, not really.
Not really? I mean...
There was kind of not really at the beginning where they're clearing out the, newsroom hotel, and they have, like, zombies bursting through the door. Right. But I don't really count that a jump scare.
Yeah, because it's more of an impact scare of, shit, this is going down, and it just kind of comes at you.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very well structured. Even though, like I said initially, it was a slower pace than I remembered, it was still very effective and creepy. And the feeling of isolationism is a very effective form of horror.
Oh, yeah.
So my rating on this is a 7.5 out of 10 exploding heads.
Exploding heads, nice.
Not a bad film. So further recommendations on the same subject. If you like these zombie movies, I recommend these. Shaun of the Dead.
That's a category of its own, though.
Yeah,
man.
It's a comedy, but it's still a zombie film. And
it's a really good one, too.
It is, and it pays homage to all the great zombie films. This came out in 2004, and it's just really, really tongue-in-cheek fun.
Yeah.
And great special effects as well.
Oh, yeah.
Another one I recommend is World War Z from 2013.
Fucking terrifying, though.
Terrifying with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And they're not exactly considered, they're zombies, but they're the fast movers. And
those motherfuckers are not fast. They're Usain Bolt sprinting at you.
They're lightning speed.
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool. There was supposed to be a sequel for that, but it never came to fruition.
They're still talking about a sequel
for
that.
Yeah. I mean, I heard somewhere there's going to be a series.
There you go. Yeah. I think with Brad Pitt directing it.
Producing the show.
Oh, there you go.
Through his production company. Another one I recommend is 28 Days Later.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah. I've seen the 28 days and the 28 weeks.
28 weeks. Really awesome. Although they don't consider them, they're not zombies, but they're zombies.
They're zombies.
Yeah.
They're nothing but zombies.
Yeah.
I bite you, you turn into me, you're a zombie.
Right. And there's been talk, Danny Boyle, who directed both films, there's been talk about doing a third one for a long, long time. And
28 months later.
Well, they're talking about 28 years now.
Ah.
And that's where they're going. Cillian Murphy, who was in I think he was in both of them, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He would definitely come back. He's talked about it. He's mentioned it, that he would definitely come back. So that's something to look forward to if it ever happens. So, so now as we start winding this down, I mean, I think we've established that CGI computer effects are good to a point, but they become unnecessary.
Yeah.
Especially when they replace. Now people say, well, computer graphic designers, they're really good at what they do. They're artists. Yeah, but the creativity, the engineering, the thinking on your feet, trying to figure out how to engineer an effect. It was pure genius back then. And it's, to some extent, it's still being used today, but not on the grand scale that it once was. And I think that horror films have, as a genre, have definitely suffered because of that. Again, it's made the industry lazy and unimaginative.
Yeah.
And that's why I prefer a good low-budget horror film from another country that uses practical effects. Yeah.
No one does fucking horror nowadays like Asian horror movies, man.
Oh, Asian horror films.
Fuck, they're so good.
Oh, they're amazing. What was that? Train to Busan.
Oh my god, man.
That is a great film.
That is terrifying and
It
it's
is.
so good. The sequel to that is shit though.
Oh,
Peninsula.
Peninsula. That was garbage. Yeah, it looked like a giant video game. It was all CGI.
Yeah.
Even the car chases were CGI.
I still don't buy the car chases.
Oh, it was horrible.
No.
It was horrible. So, okay, let's start winding it down. So on our next episode, be sure to tune in. We're going to be talking about films that, well, they ended quite not the way you thought they would. You thought about the twist ending.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So the three films we're going to be discussing are The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis from 1999, The Others with Nicole Kidman from 2001, and my favorite, Fight Club from 1999 with Edward Norton and Brad Pitt, which you have never seen.
Correct.
You're in for a treat. Trust me.
Man.
David Fincher is the director, and he does not disappoint. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, good stuff. So we hope you've enjoyed the show. Please help to support the podcast by giving us a 5-star rating. Leave us a good review. Another way is basically you can subscribe and or follow us on Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Deezer, Audible, Boomplay, or wherever you get your podcast fix. Also, don't forget to drop by our Facebook group page and leave a comment. Check us out on TikTok and our YouTube channel where we have all of our episodes as well. All the links, they're in the show notes below. Be sure to check them out. You can also contact us directly via email to thefilmjoepod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. So, any final words, Carlos?
Remember, if the zombie's walking half your speed, you can walk a slight brisk and, take them out then.
Good advice.
You're welcome.
Outstanding. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm Joe.
I'm Carlos.
And this is the Film Joe Podcast, where film talk happens.